Did that just say we've been live for 20 seconds? Either way, what the hell's going on? Friends, family, fans, welcome back to another episode of Back 9 Bets, the Crotch Rocket Classic, episode 177. Let's have a banger. Let's get some DFS picks. Let's get some bets out there. Let's do some RAGBRAI recap at the end. I've got the tan lines to give you guys all the good lines from the week we had over crossing the state of Iowa on my bicycle. So we're going to have a good day today on Back 9 Bets. As always, the show's brought to you by DraftKings. Use code FGD when signing up as a DK Virgin over there, first time depositor. We'd appreciate that from you. If I do ask anything to do so, please do that. Let's dive into this week's Rocket Classic, baby. There's nothing left behind here. We've got tee times for round one. We're going to dive into some first round leaders towards the end of the betting section before we dive into some DFS. I've got 3 props. I've got 5 or 6 outrights, and I think 5 outrights. And we are rocking and rolling with a couple favorites, with a couple boys that just make too much sense at this golf course. So, without further ado, what we're going to be looking for those of you that didn't pay attention in the Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast, which is on Mayo Media as well. Easy scoring this week. Yes, people have been telling me, you know what, in the comments of the of the Fantasy Golf Degenerates show, you know, Byron, I don't think it's going to be easy scoring this week. Well, let me show you something about easy scoring conditions. There can be pretty much any golf course in the world. If you're going to give professional golfers only one day where wind is blowing at like 9 miles an hour, by the way, it looks like a small AM wave advantage to some capacity. Friday, nothing. Saturday, rain in the afternoon, barely anything early. You know, like the whole day looks nice. Rain overnight, soft golf course, barely any wind in the afternoon. So if you are looking for any reason that conditions are going to be more difficult outside of the renovations of the golf course, potentially firmer greens, you know, that's where we go there. So we are going to basically be looking at easy scoring conditions this week. That's how we're rocking and rolling. The micro model, as always, the course fit model that we use over here when it comes to all the different micro model rankings. We can also go find it all the way over this side. I have the micro model somewhere. It's been a hot minute since I've done all of this stuff, and I have way too many tabs open. I think I see you. There you are, you bastard. Let's get you all the way over here. So here's the micro model. It basically takes the course into account. I've basically used the driving distances from previous events at the Rocket Classic and just changed the whole yardages. I'll go double check if that makes most sense for most holes. It should. I think there might be a couple that might be different, but it basically gives you guys a good feeling for how this golf course is going to set up for the best golfers in the field based off of the specific skill sets they have per a hole-by-hole basis. So it's basically doing it on a micro level, hole-by-hole stuff. There we have it for you. Then we're going to go take a look at recent form. Guys that have been playing well over the last little while, over the last 2 months. I'm looking for some hot-to-trot golfers this week. If we go over to this side of the model, you can see them all over here. We got our best guys over the last 2 months. Or you can go to the Trenders tab over here, and you can see, okay, who has been playing the best over the last 2 months, and it's Wyndham Clark. Then we got Ryan Gerard right behind him there. We got some Siwoo Kim, Chris Gotterup, Russell Henley. You can see over the last 2 years, 12 months, 6 months, 4 months, all of that stuff, their averages. You can filter this however you want in order to get it the way you want to research this week. Use code BETS26 to get into the Model Maniac Patreon, link in the description below. Then we're going to take a look at Rocket Mortgage Classic Strokes Gain. If you want to take a look at that, we can go over to this part of the cheat sheet. So basically this cheat sheet, it basically just gives you snapshots of certain things. And then if you want to go deep dive in it, you can take a couple more tabs over to the right here. You can see, okay, here's the course finishing positions for these guys over the last little while. This is basically what you see in the cheat sheet. But if you're looking for a round by round department over here, here you have the best strokes gained averages at this golf course over the last 5 years. It can be filtered by average, which doesn't include any weighting. So guys with only 4 rounds of golf like Jackson Suber is going to lead the pack. Unfortunately, you know, if you go weighted averages, he pops all the way down because I don't want just 4 rounds of golf to skew that kind of information. And then if you're doing any showdown stuff, which we love to do here on the Model Maniac Patreon, we got all your spike browns in the last 20 rounds around Rocket Classic. So take a screenshot of this one. This very likely could end up being what we use in some capacity alongside first round leader strokes gained, the model that we have for that, which we'll fire up here shortly, waiting on some ownership as well for DFS. We just got tee times, all of that stuff. So I'm happy to be back. Loved the show last night. I'm assuming you're talking fantasy golf degenerates. Yes, it was so good to be back in the saddle with Ken. From one saddle to the other. Thank you, Tom Leach. I figured I'd blow you guys up with a nice little helmet. Yeah, I almost, if I wasn't so blind, I was going to rock and roll just like hardcore. This is how I felt for the last couple days. I was just hot to trot. These glasses, I lost my other prescription glasses in my bag for a day. So it was so sunny, I just needed some $15 glasses from the Quick Trip, and off we went. So those glasses, I'm going to try and find some prescriptions in that style. I feel like I feel sexy in those ones. So you guys are lucky I'm not rocking them the whole show. Otherwise, I'd be whispering some sweet nothings to you guys. Back to what we were chatting about for this week's tournament. Other Rocket Mortgage Classic winners, blah, all the way over there. If you want to say a look at the finishing position rates, we're basically taking this column over here and seeing who's got the best total for this over there. If you want, once you make your own copy of this, you can change these percentages. If you're just looking for win percentages, top 5 rates, top 10 rates, you can put any sort of combination in there. I just use the generic total for win, top 5, top 10, tops 20. That's the total that you are seeing over there. It's like an upside total. But if you want to go and find finishing positions for these guys, you can do that as well. I should have it right over here and move it for you guys. You can see exactly how many in the last 12 months these guys have had. Here are their total starts. There's total top 40s, total top 30s, how many missed cuts they've had, how that translates into a percentage. So you can drill down into deeper things using this tool. The cheat sheet isn't just the only area that is available to you as a Model Maniac Patreon user for that. So I was on my bike a lot thinking, I have a lot of tabs and I don't necessarily flex them hard enough on you guys because there's some cool stuff out here that we are needing to share around so you guys can get the best from the tools I offer. Back to what we're chatting about over here. Then we're basically going to use our total percentages for what this week's models are using. And we can find our best ranked golfers over here. Slight adjustments since the show. I switched out Cameron Young with Wyndham Clark. I had one or two populations in this course history box that didn't quite come through. Wyndham Clark actually had played twice and it wasn't even pulling in a stat for him. But that's what you get when you're trying to pump this out real quick before the Fantasy Golf Degenerate show. Usually the model when I release it to everybody is fixed up nicely. So just a little disclosure over there. I do have to do a lot of stuff in a short period of time, and I had my parents in town with my sister yesterday, so it was just chaos. All right, so there's your guys with the best course history, the win percentages, all of that stuff. And then our model rankings. So we're basically using 15% for the total percentages of the finish rates. Then we are using 10% for course history. It's nothing too crazy, just want a sprinkling of that in there. And then we are going to go with a casual 10% in easy scoring conditions. If you really want, we can maybe go 5 and 5. If you want to be one of those people that doesn't quite believe that we're going to see a lot of easy scoring conditions, which means that scoring averages for one round would be a 1.5 strokes under par. If you think you're going to see maybe 1.5 to half a stroke under par as that scoring range, and you can put medium in there. We'll just do a bit of each, and as you can see it here, boom, we have a massive jump. So if scoring conditions get anything but easy, Eric Cole falls pretty much way out of the range here. So let's just go ahead and keep it that way because I liked Eric Cole ranking where he did. We'll get to that shortly, a little teaser for you guys over there. Then we're going to do 10% strokes gained putting. This is the Rocket Mortgage. You got to go low. How do you go low? You make your putts on bent-grass greens. Then you go ahead and take a look at strokes gained off the tee. We've seen strokes gained off the tee absolutely demolish this golf course, and as a result, we are looking for guys that have good distance as well. We've typically seen the boys like Aldrich, Max Greasom, and then some Chris Kirk in the mix as well, but I think it's a lot easier to have an accurate week as a long driver of the golf ball than it's almost impossible to be an accurate driver of the golf ball and have like a magically long week because you just don't have that physical capability of generating extra ball speed. Whereas someone with extra ball speed already in the tank, if they have a magical week with the driver, they can hit it as far as they normally do and hit a lot more fairways as well, which I like to call sun running with the driver, so that's basically why we have 20% there for off the tee metrics this week, along with 20% additional for the micro model, which uses all these different numbers over here based off of each golfer's specific skill set, like we just spoke about over there. And then I've got 10% for the last 4 and 5% for the last 2. I know I used the last 2 as the box. I probably should have switched these 2 around a little bit. What does that do to the rankings if we do that? Cameron Young gets a back seat to a couple other guys. But nothing changes in the top 20. As you can see, the top 20 for all of the boxes we are checking have blue highlights. So those are your golfers that we are looking for in those departments there. So Siwoo Kim jumps to 2 spot over Cameron Young. Unfortunately, Patrick Cantley still stays in the godforsaken 4th hole there. But let's dive into some stuff now that you know exactly where we're going with the model, what we're looking for. As always, here are my color codes for boxes that were checked. Here are the color codes for my DFS player pool for the week. I'll be editing this along throughout the week. These might change as ownership comes in, So by the end of the week, we will have all of that over there. Normally when I see someone wearing a helmet indoors, they have, yes, I know. So, you know what? I might even have one of those, my friend. So I'm a special cat in this department. So anyway, moving back to what we're talking about. By the way, we watched Spasmatics on RAGBRAI, and one of the drummers or one of the guitarists wears a helmet for the crowd's protection. Whatever that means. So there we have that little fun fact for you over there. Great band. They were the final night of the week. First order of business. I haven't got any of these typed up, so I'm going to do them for us as we go along here. We are going to be betting a guy by the name of Wyndham Clark. Plus $2,200. Plus 2,200. 22 to 1. He's number 1 in the model. What makes Wyndham Clark number 1 in the model? Why is he checking 4 boxes of the 5? Not necessarily checking too many boxes, but number 1 in the model. That's what matters. We've got that with 6 places each way floating on the river out there. So it's basically a top 6 as well for the 0.3 units times 2. So betting 6 total units, 0.3 on the outright, 0.3 on the each way side of things there. You have to bet the same amount on the each way as you do the outright. That's part of the each way rules. You can't just go get a better top 5 number. You can't bet more on the each way portion as you do the main outright portion there. But Wyndham Clark over the last 12 months, 8% win rate, 17% top 5 rate. And, the last 12 months necessarily haven't been the greatest for old Wyndham Clark. If we go back to this Trenders tab that we have filtered on Wyndham, he's gaining 2.7 strokes over the last 2 months, 2.1 over the last 4 months, but he was only gaining one stroke over the last 1.2 strokes over the last 12 months. So to rattle off some more numbers to you there, like he's basically currently playing double better golf. His golf has improved almost 100% from a strokes gain perspective in more recent months compared to his baseline. So he is starting to find a much more impressive game of golf again, and I'm liking where Wyndham Clark goes because he does, although not checking all the boxes this week, he's going to be checking the total top, the upside there. He's one of the elite golfers in the field. He's obviously number 1 in the model. His strokes gained here doesn't quite get him home for a top 20. The miscut here last year, again, if we just go back to the last 12 months or the last 2 years, you can see Wyndham wasn't playing as good a golf as he is now. So this miscut doesn't bother me that much. 2022, we had an 8th place finish. So he's still averaging a weighted 1 stroke at this golf course, which is good to see. We got a 13th at the Scottish Open and a 5th at the Travelers. Multiple wins before this. If you want to actually go and find all of the actual recent finishes that's coming in here, we can go over here. We can go find Wyndham Clark. And you can click his name and you can find him there. And then you can see, okay, so CJ Cup, Byron Nelson. We had a winner over there, 3rd at the freaking Memorial. and a win, obviously, at the US Open. So we have got some really impressive golf from Wyndham Clark. Here are his recent finishes if you're in the mood for that kind of stuff. Again, this tool, I'm trying to just do a better job of showing you guys what you have access to, and Wyndham Clark's recent track record has been sensational outside of this short-term range. That mid-term range has been delightful. So he's playing some good golf. If we get easy scoring conditions, he's averaging a stroke in that department. Not that far behind everybody that checked the boxes. He was basically 21st for me. So basically one stroke, like basically one spot away from checking that box. So that's not too bad at all. That's why I like to also just use the model ranking as the true north for us over there. Wyndham Clark gets also a nice little 7:33 tee time early on Thursday morning, which is nice to see. Maybe he's going to be a first round leader for us there as well. Wyndham Clark also does fantastic. When you take a look at what Wyndham Clark does the absolute best, let's do strokes gained out the rough from 150 and beyond. I don't want to embarrass myself here. And it's going to happen because we've got a couple guys. I'm going to get rid of these two dudes. Very small data samples. But Wyndham, is it more so with the wedges out the rough? I think it might be. Where are you? Yep. So what really does Wyndham well is he's got a really interesting profile when it comes to approach play. He's really impressive on the strokes gained front. He's inside the top 30 in this field from 150 to 200, and this is for 2026. So he hasn't necessarily been playing the greatest golf for all of 2026. He's just been playing well basically the last 4 months. So that's kind of catching up on himself here. But once things get 150 to 200 and 200 plus out of the fairway, he's top 28 in both of those areas on approach. Green regulation rates are hurting in some departments, whatever, but I like the strokes gained numbers over there. On the wedge front, not the greatest, although when you are missing fairways, Wyndham Clark is sensational out of the rough with the wedge. Not so much when it comes to out the rough from 150 and beyond. So we're going to be seeing a lot of that, and let's dive into the micro model here. Let's pull up Wyndham Clark's name because he is going to be... why can't I type his name today? He's going to really have a lot of opportunity if he can find enough fairways this week. He's projected to hit about 62% of his fairways this week, which is not incredible. It's 104th actually in the field. He's not the most accurate, but he's going to have to take advantage of being in the fairway when he is. And we are going to notice 13 golf shots coming from 150 and beyond. We just saw how well Wyndham Clark does from the fairway in that department. And we are going to guarantee him 2 of those shots from 200 plus from the fairway, because there's 2 par 3s that are 200 yards and longer, and then there are 2 par 3s that are also 156 and 163 that we are going to have some mid irons, potentially a 9-iron pitching wedge for him over there. So nothing too crazy, but the 205 yarders he's going to hit like a 6-iron, 7-iron, and the 246, so he's probably going to hit a 3-iron type hybrid situation there. So that's what you're going to be getting from him, but you can see like when he's spiking hard, it's when we've got a wedge in our hand from the rough potentially. When the actual field struggles to find the fairways on certain holes, that's when Wyndham Clark thrives because everyone's missing the fairway. He's in the fairway from long, it's good. If he's in the rough from short, it's better for him compared to the field. So there's your overall Wyndham Clark profile. He's also been fantastic on the putting greens. He's also been fantastic chipping. The overall profile for him is looking good, and he's obviously got the distance off the tee to be a menace. Doesn't quite have elite distance off the tee. Again, I think that's probably what's also hurting him from an extra box there from Wyndham Clark because he's 37th. So yeah, doesn't check the distance or off the tee stuff for us, but again, still pretty good in that department. So there is your Wyndham Clark breakdown. I don't know, I figured I've lost some track of really getting into the nitty-gritties of a specific golfer's profile. He's going to be a linchpin for us this week. I'm probably going to be playing him in 25% to 50% of my lineups. I'll wait and see what the ownership is. What gets me to lust a golfer versus love a golfer versus like a golfer versus less a golfer versus little a golfer versus leave. I could probably say this, leave. Stick with the program, yeah. And what gets me lusting over somebody is when you get like that ownership leverage. Someone that I really fancy. It's not often you find someone in the $9,000 range that gives you that ownership leverage. Someone like an Eric Cole could get me lusty if we get some low ownership this week, maybe. But again, that's going to be very aggressive. I might just stay in this love to like range around about 30%, 25% range on Eric Cole. There's your little preview on Eric Cole, but in fact, let's just go to Eric Cole plus 1,008. Wow. Plus 1,008. 8 to 1. 80 to 1. Eric Cole. Let's go. DraftKings. Use code FGD when signing up as a first-time depositor. $7,600 in the DraftKings DFS world. He is going off at 7 o'clock in the morning. Eric Cole is doing some work as well. Checks 3 boxes. He is cheap. He's 80 to 1. We have got a finish at this golf course in the last couple years. One of them, 6th place finish for Eric Cole. There we go. Not quite checking the strokes gained here because that 6th place finish is only 4 rounds of golf. It's going to be watered down. But if we go to the course history over here, for Eric Cole, you can see course strokes gained. We can just do the average, which uses just basically the straight up average. It's the 3rd best strokes gained, obviously, because, Tony Finau won, I think, in 2022. Missed the cut the following year. Jackson Suber finished pretty highly up here as well, gaining 2.7. So there you have it. If you go weighted average, boom, he jumps all the way down here to, just outside the top 20. So that would almost be another box if you had a couple more solid rounds around this golf course. Just kind of explaining to you why the strokes gained numbers aren't quite what you'd imagine them to be given his 4 rounds of golf. But again, that is what we do here on the Model Maniac side of things. We weight things accordingly to generate a probable outcome for ourselves. Recent form has been a little lackluster. Recent finishes, though, we have got some good finishes for Eric Cole over the last little while. And I'm actually going to do something here quickly. A quick little formatting situation just to make everything look so much nicer for everybody involved, because I need colors. Otherwise, there's just a whole bunch of numbers. We're going to do super small is good. Did I do the right thing? Yes, I did. Look at me go. Okay, so there we have it. Let's make these things a bit bigger as well. Just so we have, I haven't used this tab in a while, so I want to make sure that everything we've got here is user-friendly for the eyeballs. Okay, so Eric Cole, finding his name, you just go click this column, you click Control F, Eric Cole, boom, there he is. I'm also going to make a quick freeze frame over here for ourselves so that we can kind of groove around here. I'm sorry, I'm ADDing our way through here up to row 1. We're going to freeze that, and then we can go find Eric Cole's name. Where are you, sir? There we go. What I like the most about Eric Cole's profile is this delightful situation here at the 8th at the Memorial, 2nd at the Charles Schwab. We lost to our boy Russell Henley over there. Then we had the 31st at the CJ Cup, Byron Nelson, and the 6th at the Myrtle. Basically, after that Memorial tournament, once he really came to grips with losing to Russell Henley, it's been quite poor. But I mean, if you just cover, take your hand here and just cover this part of the screen, like do what you got to do, and just look at that 8th, 2nd, 31st, and you know what? I can do it for us. Where are you, Eric? Come here, you fiend. There we go. Okay, move this, and we're going to scroll this over here. We didn't have that frozen. Damn it. But anyway, you know what I'm saying? Look at this good run of form here. If we can find a bounce back there, we are looking good. This golf course isn't necessarily like super penal off the tee, so maybe Eric Cole can have a good driving week this week because he kind of needs a good driving week in order to have a good week. But 80 to 1, we're probably going to be going to Eric Cole in some other capacity as well. Let's take a look at his finish rates over the last little while. It's probably looking like a top 10 bet for Eric Cole. He kind of either pops or he doesn't. Finishing inside the top 10 19% of the time. Inside the top 20, 22% of the time. So it's like only 3% more he's finishing inside the top 10 than he is top 20. And only 14% more inside the top 10 than top 30. So that's where we'd probably be looking for an Eric Cole. But he also finishes inside the top 40, 52% of the time. If we go and take a look at Eric Cole for the last little while, we can maybe find a top 40 bet on him, which I think is the way we want to go about finding Eric Cole equity instead of using that top 10. He's been playing quite nicely, minus 104 for a top 40. So we could potentially shop around for some plus money numbers out there if you want to get rid of ties and get like a plus 140. If that's out there, I would take that. But anything like plus 125 and closer to even money, I would probably be leaning on the ties paid in full. Eric Cole, obviously had that really good stretch of golf there. And then even when he's been playing quite poorly, the John Deere and the Travelers, both top 40s. Granted, Travelers was only like 70 people, but the best in the field. And then the Open Championship finished 53rd. So a big tournament there at a golf course he's not typically showing the best performances at. Here's Eric Cole for you. I like that top 40 bet as well at minus 104. We'll probably be looking at something in that range. We will be betting the Eric Cole top 40. I don't know what price it will be at, but DraftKings has minus 104. I don't mind that as a number. All right, so that's going to be bet number 2 and 3 and 4, basically, with the top 40 there on Eric Cole. We're also going to be taking a look at our next bet, which is going to be JJ Spaun plus 3,300. He is on the card for us this week. 6th in the model, checks 6 boxes this week. If you see a green background, it means 6 boxes have been checked. It means that there's only 1 box that did not get checked. So let's take a look at what JJ Spaun has been up to and why he's checking boxes. He's also one of the guys that I'm kind of lusting over from the love range, So we'll see how that goes. There obviously plays very good golf, has won at the Valero this year, so that's good to see there. Not nearly as consistent as we'd like over the last 12 months, but again, he had a bout of vertigo since leaving San Diego, and was heavily invested in JJ Spaun early on. Lots of best ball equity, all of that stuff. Didn't quite have the greatest run out over there. I said it also on the Fantasy Golf Degenerate show. Congratulations to Pat and Justin on finishing 1st and 2nd. Brutal that it's my 2 guys we're going up against in the best ball streets that managed to get themselves into round 4 there. I skunked all 13 of my round 3 lineups to not be able to get into the mix for round 4. Unfortunately, brutal variance in that department. I had a couple Scotty Scheffler lineups that just let me down. So shout out to Pat, especially Justin, on taking down the 50K there as the second best ball PGA since I've been doing that, So we'll add him to the hot soup Hall of Fame. So JJ Spaun, other things he does. Excuse me while I be old here and just throw these old glasses on again so I can see the screen. There we go. That looks a lot better. So JJ Spaun, number 6 in the model, checks out box. Obviously has good finish rates over the last 12 months, and his last 4 starts have been 10th, 33rd, 8th, and 32nd at the Rocket Classic. Did not play last year. I think he's a perfect course fit, especially after if we do think the redesign has changed us to be a little more claustrophobic, a little more nuanced off the tee, a little more precise. That is where JJ Spaun typically finds his best form. He's finished 40th, 44th, and 7th in his last 3 PGA starts. 7th at the Travelers. I don't mind that as a similar kind of a comp. 40th and 44th at the Scottish and the Open Championship. I'm not too worried about any sort of last month worth of golf, unless the guys have played the ISCOs and the whatever the hell other tournament it was, the One Flight, the Corrales, all of that stuff. So JJ Spaun in easy and medium conditions. If this course plays slightly more difficult, we are starting to see JJ Spaun flex his shit. Medium scoring conditions, he leads the pack. 2.3 strokes gained on the field over the last 12 months in medium scoring conditions, which is this range here. So scoring averages for the day, minus 1.5 to half a stroke under par. Easy scoring is 1.5 strokes and easier for that scoring average for that day. So if we get that, we are looking good. But he's also top 20 in the field in easy scoring. So if we flip this to 10% and this to 0%, there goes JJ Spaun. We'd have to do a little bit more to get him like second. 20% medium scoring gets him right up there. So that's kind of what you can see from JJ if that world exists and conditions are a little more difficult. But again, we did show you the weather here already. Very placid conditions in the wind side of things. This takes up a lot of bandwidth. I'm going to get rid of that out of the equation here. JJ Spaun continuing to do good things in the easier stuff. It's obviously his best half of the 2 splits. Hard and hellish, he's averaging 4. Medium and hard, he's averaging like 0.16. So that is incredible. It's one of the betters you'll see out here. So good combination of easy and medium scoring for JJ Spaun, hitting his irons incredibly well. If we were using an iron clad situation for a box here, he's second in the field in approach play behind Siwoo Kim, who's been on fuego the last little while. So JJ Spaun doing good work over there. Hits a ton of fairways. He's not going to be your super accurate driver of the golf ball. But again, we noticed that strokes gained approach is kind of matching up really nicely with guys who don't have a ton of distance. Jake Knapp and Wyndham Clark are the two guys that have positive distance that are leading the field in the top 10 here in strokes gained approach for this golf course based off of fairway hit rates, how they play out of the rough, how they play out of the fairway, based off of the various things using the micro model. This is the part of the micro model that we use to determine that. So guys that do find fairways, the micro model rewards, despite me overriding 20% worth of off the tee stuff and distance into the model. So you see some guys with really good rankings over here on approach. Obviously, Austin Smotherman and Matt Wallace not nearly short gaming it well enough to get good rankings. But there you have your guys. JJ Spaun second in that department. If we take a look at JJ Spaun's last 2 months, he's playing some good golf. Obviously, the last 4 months have been even better than the last 2 months relative to his peers. Top 5, top 6 in that department versus the last 2 months. He's going to be a little, I guess, down there too. But we like, if the number for the last 4 months can be the same as the last 2 months, and your last 2 months have been good, that's good to know because it means you've been playing much better golf for a longer time. What's up, Nev? Good to see you, my brother. Can't decide between Knapp or Hideki. Help. Well, Tom Leach, we'll get to that question here shortly. I wish I never saw that until I got to my next situation here. But good afternoon, JP Delfrio. Good to see you in the chat, my friend. So JJ Spaun playing great golf over the last little while, blah, 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 all of that stuff. We've just gone over everything we like about him. Let's actually get to what we're going to be doing on the JJ Spaun placement side of things is probably going to be a top 20. If I haven't done a each way on the guy, I'm not necessarily going to be firing off those auto top 5s. I'm going to bet the outright and then kind of find the specific placement market for them. So I'm not like over investing into that situation. That worked out perfectly with Chris Gotterup last week. 2 weeks ago. The last tournament I really watched was the Open. So that is basically last week for me. But we had that Gotterup each way, I guess. But we also did the top 20 on him, which came in pretty nicely with a good Sunday around the Open for Chris Gotterup, who has only finished inside the top 20 in Open Championships, by the way. Well, everyone wants to know, I can't decide between Knapp or Hideki, and Sia wants to know how we're feeling about Knapp. Well, how do we find Jake Knapp on our model ranking over here? We can go filter by the best in the biz, and then, there's a Jake Knapp that's checking 6 boxes this week. Hello. There we have him. So he's 13th in the model. Obviously, we've got some serious situation. If we go to the trenders over here, Jake Knapp over the last 6 months might even still be up there. Yeah, pretty solid, impressive stuff. Despite having a really poor recent run of golf, it's been really promising for Jake Knapp. If we take a look at his recent finishes, it's been so impressive. He was, let's go to find Jake Knapp here and pull his name up, because going back there, you can see when he got injured how things got bad for him. This massive stretch of golf is right around the injury time. He did play, I think the injury came at, was it the Players? The Players. Yes, the Players. So yeah, he withdrew from the Players or missed the cut at the Players. But look at what he was doing right around that stretch. 5th, 8th, 6th, 11th. This is just some incredible golf. It's a golf course now that suits his game to a T. We just had a 13th place at the 3M Open. That was courtesy of a 62 on Sunday. And I'm all about taking momentum from a final round into the next round of golf. And Jake Knapp is giving us that. 35% top 10 rate in this field. We will be going to a Jake Knapp top 10 as well at plus 310, I believe. At a certain book, if you want to look for a duel, you can find Knapp there. Top 10 for plus 310. So that's where we'll be going for Jake Knapp as well for a top placement bet, along with the most bet trap nap, the nap trap. It's probably going to be a nap trap, but at the same time, if I'm ever going to get trapped, it's in a nap. That's like my spirit animal death scene there. So give me a nap trap for all the marbles. 32 to 1, 31 to 1, wherever you can find that number. Perfect course fit for the man. He's got great course history here with a 4th place finish last year and a 34th in his debut. Like I mentioned, just finished 13th at the 3M Open after missing cuts at the Scottish and the Open. Jake Knapp thrives, gains over a stroke in each easy and medium scoring conditions, so this is where we're going. Sia saying we were waiting for the injury bounce back, and we saw it last week. Exactly, this is when you pounce now. The midterm, the more so long-term baseline for Jake Knapp is insane. And we just saw that 62. Was that the round of the day? And as a result, we're going to pounce at anything in the 30s is a very fair game for me. And then anything 3 to 1 for a top 10 with ties paid in full makes a lot of sense. You know, we're getting him at a golf course that you can really just rock driver all day long. I mean, think about Aldrich Potgieter and Jake Knapp both having won the Mexico Open. Oh, sorry, Aldrich did not win the Mexico Open. I basically told myself he did. But, played well at the Mexico Open for 72 holes there. 71 holes, 73 holes. And didn't quite come home there. But you know what I'm saying? Good kind of comp course fit for what we can expect at the Detroit Golf Club this week. Not going to take into account too much on the renovation side of things, you know. What? Is it going to just all of a sudden favor accurate guys like incredibly much more this week versus normal? I think it just looks a lot different. You know, all of these tight passages might just be able to get carried by these guys with tons of distance off the tee anyway. So Jake Knapp has got tons of distance off the tee. He's 20th in the micro model ranking despite having a really poor injury period of time there. We'll see what happens in that department. And then, you know, obviously the last 2 months, not quite there. That's the box he didn't check because of the injury. So we are now we could theoretically check that box and he could check all 7 this week, knowing that he just had a really good 3M after the injury. There's context involved in this recent form situation for Jake Knapp. A lot to like from Napster. Very fair number, very fair argument. Let's have it. Let's go. Before we get to our next bet, 2 bets, 1 bet, I don't know. We'll get to it. But before we do that, let's hear a quick word from our friends. New DraftKings customers, get in the game right now. Sign up today and make your first deposit of just $5 and instantly get $25 in free Pick 6 bonus picks, plus a powerful single-use 100% winnings boost token. That means you can play for free with $25 in bonus picks, and if you win, boost those winnings up to 100%. That's up to $100 boost in cash. New customers only. Bonus picks and your boost token expire in just 14 days, so don't wait. This offer is live from June 20th through August 23rd. Download the DraftKings app, sign up, and start playing Pick 6 today. Must be 18 or older, 19 in Alabama, Nebraska, 21 in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia. Valid only where Pick 6 is available. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. New customers only, minimum $5 deposit required. Full terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos. Play free, win bigger, only on DraftKings Pick 6. If you don't think that repetitions make things better for you in life, just go listen to that ad again. That was a fantastic read from your boy. Easily the best one I've done so far. Did it in record time as well, and you could still hear everything. I'm very proud of that one. Go use code FGD as a first-time depositor on DraftKings. Really appreciate you guys there. All right, so the ladder bet of the week. We actually bet Aldrich Potgieter, I think, 150 to 1, 6 places. I don't know what the hell that is from. It's in my tray here of banners. It's not quite exactly where we're going, but we're going to go Aldrich Potgieter 105 to 1 at DraftKings with no the places. Obviously, DraftKings doesn't do the places, and you can get him for a top 5 at, I think, I know what the number is because I have it in the Discord. Top 5 is plus 1550 and a top 10 is plus 730. We're going to be betting 0.1 units on the outright, 0.2 units on the top 5, and 0.3 units on the top 10. So basically trying to get ourselves 10 units return, 3 units return, 2 units return. So if we basically bring home the top 10, we cash in 1.5 units on the Aldrich experience. Didn't want to go to the 3-1 for a top 20 there. I kind of just fancy his upside. If we take a look at what Aldrich actually gets up to in the placement side of things before we really get into his true upside in the betting market for the outright side of things here. Obviously, I don't have the rocket in here for the last 12 months. So that's a win that he should have in the column here. But I think it fits outside a year by a day or two. So that's just what happens. I probably should have had the rocket in. He doesn't have it here. But again, that's what he does well, is play at this golf course. You can see, boom, there it is. Last year, top 1 in a 3-man playoff. Gutsy stuff. Gutsy stuff. So hopefully he can bring it home. The recent form, not so good. 3 missed cuts in a 59th at the Open. It is what it is. Prior to that, I really liked what Aldrich was getting up to. We saw some really good finishes from the boy, and he's just been off kilter a little bit. John Deere, Scottish Open, the Open, and the 3M didn't quite bring it home, but the Canadian, he finished 8th. We had a 21st at the Houston Open, a 25th at the RBC Heritage, a 14th at the Cadillac, 35th at the PGA Championship. Good finishes, 8th at the Canadian Open, which is only 5 starts ago. Canadian Open, driver-heavy golf course, so is the 3M. It is what it is. He's a very volatile guy. We're getting triple-digit odds on the defending champ. We see a defending champ basically win a tournament once a season, at least. And why not Aldrich this week? So, yes, the field is stacked to shit, but it's a golf course that Aldrich feels very comfortable on. I trust him when he gets in the mix. He at least fights when he's feeling it. And Aldrich is definitely capable of doing good things. Leads the field in driving distance this week. Defending champ, obviously. So checks those couple boxes. Even though he's the defending champ, he's not checking the course history because he does have a miscut here. So that could be 2 boxes. He's $7,300. He's triple digits. You can get that top 10 for 15-1. You can get that the top 5 for 15-1. You can get the top 10 for 7-1. Aldrich finishes inside the top 10 at a 13% clip, which is barely more than his top 20 rate, you know. So if I'm going to go anything for Aldrich, it's going to be the upside side of things. Obviously, we're missing the rocket from last year, which would add another top 10, another top 5 to that as well. But you know what I'm saying. So this is more of a maniac play. He's 70th in the model. We can do a bit of a maniac override here, maybe get him into like the top... Let's see, let's do plus 25, get him to 40th. Where does that put him in the overall rankings? Do I think Aldrich Potgieter deserves to be ahead of Johnny Kiefer, Sung J M, Rasmus Højgaard, Mackenzie Hughes, Michael Thorbjornsson, which I saw in the chat? We can get to Max Griesemann. You know, I kind of feel like he's fine in this department. Probably the point 2 was a better situation, 46th behind these guys. Yeah, shove him in this range, yeah. So that's kind of where I'll put Aldrich as an override. Do I think his upside is probably top 10? Obviously, we just bet him top 10, top 5 to win this thing at a golf course like this. Lots of long irons. If you take a look at what Aldrich does best on approach, please, this is usually the case. I hope I haven't remembered stuff from ages ago, but yeah, he's not necessarily driving the ball or hitting the golf ball the greatest on approach this year, but you can see the colors getting better and better as he gets further from the hole. So anytime you're getting like a long iron to his hand, he's 40th in the field in strokes gained from 200 plus. If he starts feeling himself, if he starts putting well on bent grass greens again, we can find Aldrich doing good work in that department. And then anything out of the rough from 150 and beyond, he's inside the top 25 in the field. In green regulation rates, he's 27th, and strokes gained, he's 24th. So get the wedges and the short sticks out of his hand, get the long irons and all of that stuff in his hand. I love that for Aldrich. If we take a look at the micro model for him, it's likely going to give us a similar blueprint to what we saw from Wyndham Clark, because Aldrich's going to have like 12 or 13 approach shots from 150 and beyond. 12, you know. He has one additional flick wedge than Wyndham Clark because Aldrich leads the field in distance. So obviously he's going to have a little more wedges. It's not a bad, like if he's having himself more wedges than everyone else, because he's just a bad wedge player, doesn't necessarily mean that's a bad thing. Relative to the field, he's still going to hit a pitching wedge closer than anyone else is going to hit an 8-iron. Or let's even say a 6-iron, because Aldrich hitting a pitching wedge is probably the equivalent of somebody else's 8-iron anyway. So That's kind of what I'm trying to get at you with that. And I think he can absolutely do wonderful things. He's going to gain the 6th most strokes off the tee this week, and that just really gets you momentum. So we'll see what Aldrich can get up to for us over there. 105 to 1, top 10, top 5. Going to ladder that bad boy. We'll be playing him in DFS. Let's get it. Potgieter. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Then we had 1 or 2 other questions in the chat. He's not my guilty pleasure, Tom Leach, Aldrich, but he's that booty call that when I'm in the town, anytime I send off that text, it gets replied to. I typically have had a good response rate from Aldrich. And sometimes I come to town, I'm not quite feeling him because I'm driving a different car, I've got a different hotel. It's the stuff that he doesn't quite like. Unfortunately, you can't have the perfect setup for him every single week. So when I do have a nice California King, when I do have a nice little SUV rental versus a sedan, then I get my big boy and hit him up and say, hey, let's go party, baby. Because I want him on an open golf course. I want him on a long iron intensive venue. I want him on bent grass greens. And I want him when he's triple digits. I'm only betting 0.1 units. We're investing a 0.6 units on Aldrich. And we can have almost a 15 unit week if he wins. So if he doesn't even win, we still have a 5 unit week on his top 5 and top 10. So I really try to take advantage of him, and he lets me take advantage of him nicely because the odds are great, and I typically get a good feel for when he plays good golf for somehow. So he's probably going to miss the cut this year. We'll see what happens. All right. Question was, what about Hideki? What about Jake Knapp? Well, Tom, going back to another comment of yours here, we're going to be going with Hideki Matsuyama top 30. So maybe the Knapp upside, I think, is definitely the way I'd rather go in the DFS world and in the outright market. And then we're going to go to Hideki Matsuyama for a top 20. So I've got Hideki Matsuyama ranked 12th in the model. But if we go top 30 rate in this field, Hideki Matsuyama finishes inside the top 20 58% of the time, and he finishes inside the top 30 81% of the time. So he is doing wonderful things in the outright, in the placement market yet at top 30 rates of 81% of the time. He's finishing inside the top 40 81% of the time. So every time he finishes top 40, it's also a top 30. Simultaneous placement situation there. So you basically don't ever want to be laying a top 40 bet on Hideki Matsuyama. He's likely going to finish T32 this week, now that we're saying this. But typically over the long haul, when we find patterns like this, Hideki Matsuyama is going to be the guy we go to in the placement market. You can get an Hideki Matsuyama top 30 bet on DraftKings for minus 116. I put in the Discord as a top 20 bet. It's a top 30 bet because it was a very nice number. Here's Hideki Matsuyama top 30 bet for you. Minus 116. Ties paid in full. I mean, that's basically even money for you there on the DraftKings side of things. Go check out Hideki Matsuyama's top 40 rates. If we take a look at his recent form, I mean, this has got to be fun. Let's go take a look when last he didn't have a top 30 and at what course that happened at. The US Open, hilariously, he didn't do anything there, and the Truist at Quail, where he didn't do anything there. Memorial also didn't have. So we've had a 3rd, a 14th, a 14th, and a 13th in his last 6. 5 of the last 7 have been top 30s. So that's good to see. Reasonable form. The last 3 have all been top 15s. So we might be getting a little tentative on this side of things. But again, at a golf course like this, what is Hideki Matsuyama's easy scoring situation? I prefer him chipping the ball a little bit more. But again, he's a very flat across the board kind of a guy, you know. But anytime green regulation rates are lower, it puts an emphasis on his elite approach play and also around the green play. He gets to flex both of those. At this golf course, we typically see green regulation rates of like 65%. I don't know if that's all just across the board. God damn, I need to change that. Okay, we'll put that in there correctly. That's from the Open Championship. I'd imagine it's a little higher. we get a lot of green regulations here at this golf course. So give me a Hideki Matsuyama top 30, minus 116, betting 0.1, 0.2 units to win a unit on somebody that's doing it 82% of the time, 81% of the time, 81% of the time. Like, that is not even Russell Henley Sex Panther area. That's just Japanese sake savior, you know, like, let's see what Decky can do here. I love the safety. If you want to go the top 20, I think it's barely going to give you that big of an odds break as well. Plus 130, you know, and he's doing it 58% of the time. Give me the 81% of the time for minus 116 instead. I feel like the top 20 bet is pretty fair. This top 30 bet is edge, in my opinion. So let's go Hideki Matsuyama for the floor there in the top 30 market. Give me Jake Knapp top 10 and outright this week over there. Hate to give you both, but unfortunately I had this plan before you even asked the question. So that's what's happening in that department. Right. I'm here. Huge shout out to Spencer. Huge shout out to Spencer. Huge shout out to Spencer. Showed up on Fantasy Golf Degenerates. The audio was what it was. Also, but in the Discord, Spencer came in clutch. You know, I didn't want to leave the Discord without anybody with good, safe hands. I wanted you guys to be in Spencer's hands for the week, and he crushed, as always. So I really appreciate Spencer doing his thing, really just being one of the best friends I have in the space, one of the best friends I have in life, to be honest with you as well. We've spent more hours than you know on a phone because it's not even been that many phone calls. But when we get on the phone call, we chat for like probably 90 minutes on average. It's just how it goes. You've seen us on shows together, which we are potentially trying to get on the docket for 2027. We'll probably try and do a show all year long for you guys. We are in the early process of trying to figure it out. Nothing official, obviously, but we want to do it, and we want to do it for you because we know you guys love us more than you love us individually. We are a good power couple. We do so believe. Thank you, Spence, for everything you did. And yes, 400 beers were drank. Lots of them. And I loved every single one of them. Moving along. I have one more from the Japanese sake savior to the Sex Panther himself. We actually have two more bets. But to the Sex Panther we go. On the screen here, let's do filter by top 20 rates in this field over the last 12 months. And we've got Mr. Sex Panther, Russell Henley. 65% of the time, it's top 20, 100% of the time is old Russell Henley. He's been playing some very consistent golf. He's got a top 10 year in 2022. His last couple starts have been a 12th and a 9th at the Open and the Travelers. He's good in easy, he's good in hell, he's good in medium, he's good in hard. Does it all very, very well. He gains a decent amount of strokes off the tee at a golf course like this. If he can just keep pounding fairways, he's an elitist when it comes to fairway finding ability. Let's get it going there. Number 4th in the micro model, number 5 in the model overall. His last 2 months are inside the top 5 in strokes gained in this field, with Wyndham Clark, Ryan Gerard, Siwoo Kim, and Chris Gotterup gaining more strokes than him only. Everybody else over there. If we do the last 6 months, Russell Henley is only got Siwoo Kim and Cameron Young ahead of him. So we've got a much longer baseline of elite golf for Russell Henley than we have seen more recently. But even more recently, we're seeing a really good situation here from old Henley. So a 12th and a 9th in his last 2 starts. Great form there. We got good course history. There's a lot of boxes that are being checked. Number 2 in the micro model as well. I love that. You know, this is what I love the most about the micro model is if we take a look at the filter here, we got Wyndham. Whoa. Who did I have? Oh, Siwoo Kim. Number 4 in the micro model. Okay. Even though that's totally fine. You know, like, look at who we have popping up here in the micro model. Wyndham Clark checks a lot, makes tons of sense. Siwoo, Jackson Quaven, Russell Henley, 4th. Nick Taylor shows up 5th. JJ Spaun, Harris English, Eric Cole, Mac Masner, and Cameron Young. This is the course fit ranking. So those are your guys that should have some really good course fit model stuff. And obviously, they're all pretty solid in the model ranking overall, since there's 20% of this weighting over here going into that. So Russell Henley, 65% of the time he's inside the top 20 all the time. Let's get that Sex Panther bet of the week home because we need him to do his Lord's work for us over here. 75% of the time he's inside the top 40 and 75% of the time he's inside the top 30. The same exact rate. Don't be betting no top 40s on Russell Henley. Let's just go to that top 20 market. It's easily where the value is to be found on the Sex Panther this week at the Rocket. So let's bang one out there with Russell, $9,200. Going to be playing him with the love factor of 25 to 50% exposure, pending ownership. Boom, boom, boom. Then we have one more bet, and it's going to be the guy that's probably beneath Russell Henley in top 20 rates over the last 12 months, and it's Siwoo Kim. So our placements for the week, we filtered on the top 30. Boom. Hideki Matsuyama, 81% top 30 rate. Bet him minus 116. Russell Henley, 65% top 20 rate. Bet him top 20. Boom. Siwoo Kim, 62% of the time inside the top 20 all the time. The Korean Sex Panther, if we want to go there, but let's not draw that out more than we need to. Just Siwoo Kim inside the top 20, 62% of the time. You can get him at pretty much all the other places on Starter and DraftKings, but other places worth including ties have a plus 110 out there for Siwoo Kim. Plus 110 is like what, 52, 53% probability? Something like that. And he does it 62% of the time. So there's a legit 10% edge over there, if you do say so myself. We got a 14th place share in 2022, and then he made the cut and finished 84th in 2025 last year. So played quite poorly over the weekend, but did not miss the cut, which is whatever. So Siwoo Kim checks the 5 boxes. Number 2 in the model. The ball striking is just way too good to pass up. The putter is just way too poor to kind of really, not too poor, but doesn't work when it needs to work on a Sunday for Siwoo Kim. Although he does rate out well, the irons, the short game, the chipping, the driver, fairway finding ability, all going to be there for Siwoo. We love that floor at plus money for a top 20. Give us Siwoo Kim top 20 plus 110. Ties paid in full. Full unit on that to win 1.1 units back. Boom, boom, boom. So that is going to be it for the bets. We have got Aldrich ladder, outright top 10, top 5. We've got Wyndham Clark each way, 6 places at 22 to 1 outright. We have got JJ Spaun 33 to 1. We've got JJ Spaun. Did we say what we're going to do with JJ Spawn's? I'm going to have to go back and listen to what we said. Hit me up in the chat. Tell me what I was going to bet JJ Spaun again. I can't remember. With the placement market, but if I probably look here, I can remember again. It's going to be a top, I don't know, it was kind of uninspiring in that department, wasn't it? It might just be like a top 20 bet or top 40 bet. Top 20, I don't know. We don't know yet. We'll see. I'll have to go listen again. I must have come to some sort of conclusion. Wyndham Clark, JJ Spaun, Eric Cole, 80 to 1, Aldrich, and there we have it. Wyndham, JJ, Jake Knapp as well at 33 to 1. So there we have our bets there. Jake Knapp top 10 as well at plus 310 for a top 10 there. Siwoo Kim top 20, Russell Henley top 20, Hideki Matsuyama top 30. Boom, boom, boom. Those are those. Let's dive into some DFS plays for the week. I'm trying to find my screen. I see there are lots of questions about Suber. I'm not too worried about Suber. Where did I see it? Yeah. Suber did miss the cut last year at the 3M, so maybe that wasn't his best course last week. Came T6 last year, though. I mean, Suber is somebody that is absolutely worth contemplating about. You know, if we take a look at some of that, you can go find him here in the 6th place finish, like you said, with our guys, Nico Echeverria, who is an easy scoring conditions guy as well. $7,500 for Jackson Suber. The top 5 rate is pretty impressive. You know, that's not going to be outdone by too many other people. It gets to like 13% in the first 11 names. He's at 12. You know, like he's right up there with the best of them. And this has all mostly been done in the last couple starts for him. Granted, none of them have been top 5s. But top 30, top 6, top 30. Some really impressive finishes. And again, man, he's just come off a really impressive run where he should have won a couple tournaments, to be honest with you, if he... Oh, that's recent. We're going to go Suber. He should have had a couple events. I mean, fourth at the CJ Cup, Byron Nelson, I felt like he could have won that. The Canadian Open, I think he could have done, had a good week on the greens on Sunday and won that thing. And then the John Deere, I was watching him in the final couple groups as, he passed through while I was watching Ben Coles play the most amazing 71 holes of golf I've ever seen personally, until the 71 and a half holes of golf I've seen personally until 18 on Sunday. RIP Ben Coles. We should have probably had on our betting card now that I think about it, but we might add him a little bit later on in the week. Check in the Discord over there. Use bets26 to get into the Model Maniac Patreon, where I drop all my bets before I do all of these shows and things. Usually that's the first place that they go. So Jackson Suber has got some incredible upside over the last little while. I think I like him for like a top 20 bet if you want to do anything there, and a DFS play is not a problem whatsoever. We are probably not going to be going outright at all because at some point you got to figure it out, but it also just seems like he gets really flustered in the outright side of things, trying to win a golf tournament. These fourths could have been seconds if he just had a better day than he did. So playing great golf though. Love what he's up to. Love the price tag. Love the model ranking. What does the model ranking say he is versus the price tag? So over here, okay, a three spot difference. Nothing too crazy. I was maybe expecting a bit better stuff, but again, he's playing much better golf than he was 12 months ago. Even last 6 months, he's playing some of the best golf of his life. This model takes a bit more long-term data into play. If you want, you can, fiddle around with some of the data to make it work your way, but that's your Suber situation there. I don't mind him whatsoever. The upside's definitely there. Okay, what do you think about Suber? He's been okay. There we go. We just spoke about it. Yeah, I mean, makes a ton of sense. 30th in the model. We'll see what he does. Doesn't have tons of distance off the tee, but he's just a good driver of the golf ball in general. Pretty sharp around the greens. It's the putter that just can't keep it together when he needs it to do. Eric Cole, scrumptious, seems a fascinating question. And did we not have an Eric Cole? We had an Eric Cole placement, didn't we? We did. It was top 40. Is that what are you replying to the top 40 that we had on Eric Cole? Yeah. I think that's where we go. Make sure you get the ties paid in full, by the way. All right. Hit me with any questions, friends. I'll do some, kind of just go through the model here as we go. Take a look at some value options. Let's actually just filter by the value options part of the model here and go from there. So we're going to go biggest to smallest, get our guys in the mix. So don't take this for gospel. This is just kind of how it goes. Or do we want to take a look at some first round leaders quickly? Let me also pull in some DraftKings pricing for round one showdown, and then I will plug it in so I can get the value per power rating, which is what I basically use for my first round leader bets, because you're getting the better odds. DraftKings prices for fantasy and the odds board are pretty close together in general. So we'll see what we can get up to in that department. There we go. The round one showdown is out there. Give me 2 seconds as I just download the CSV, plug it in so we can get some salaries, and then we'll have some value for round one showdown, because I want to get a couple first round leader bets out there as well while you guys tell me we want to deep dive in the DFS streets. And then I'll spend the last 15 or so, maybe 20 minutes chatting about RAGBRAI. I'll pull up the route, and you guys can ask any questions you want on that side of things and go from there. So we might have a couple names that I got to figure out a little bit, but we should be good to go for the most part off of a value thing. I mean, John Hooks is not going to be in any sort of database, and then we've got Patrick Wilkie's Kriya, whatever that's going to go on there. All right, so we've got our round one power ratings, our best guys for round one. Going to be Wyndham Clark, gains over stroke in round one. Like to see that. Siwoo Kim, Russell Henley, Jackson Koiven, Cameron Young. Nothing too shocking in that department. Okay, let's find some value options in this department over here. The best values for round one: Nick Taylor, Kaden Nakajima, Ben Coles, Mac Masner, Matt Kuchar, Russell Henley coming off as a really solid value at gaining his 2 strokes per round in round one. This leverage rating right here, by the way, is based off of ownership. So there's some ownership from prior events in the model right now. We're going to wait and see. Let me double check. Maybe we can get ownership in here as well. It wasn't up before I did the show, and it's up. Okay. 2 seconds while I update the ownership, and then we can really get into the meat and potatoes of the DFS side of things and the round one showdown / first round leaders. But we've got to pump in some ownership here quickly while we do this. Get ourselves in here. Paste. Boom, boom, boom. There we have our ownership, which has been rather atrocious, to be honest with you, over the last little while. Okay, now the leverage rating is good to go based off ownership for the week, projected wise. There we have it. Okay, so Matt Kuchar, 0% projected ownership. I have him ranked 26th in the field this week. What about his game? He's got solid course history, 2 missed cuts in a 25th year, whatever. He's very good in easy scoring conditions. Hopefully it stays that way. Very good putter right now and finds fairways. The model's got him ranked 21st and in the micro model course fit rankings. And he's also had a really good last 2 months in strokes gained department. So Matt Kuchar is the number 1 DK value point for us in DFS at 77 there. But we're not really looking at that. We are going to the first round leader side of things right now. Yeah, they are here. So what I typically like to do in the first round side of things here is I really like to zone in on guys that have a early tee time. Remember we showed us, let's pull up the weather one more time for this part of the show. Let's get this zoomed out. We don't want Somerset, we want Detroit Golf Club. And we're going to go to Thursday by the hour. And as you can see, it's going to be 65 degrees. That's perfect. Not going to get much hotter than 81, which isn't too crazy, but the wind's going to be slightly down in the first couple hours of the day. It's not going to hurt anybody that afternoon. You might see a first round leader from the afternoon. You may not. But it's just easier to narrow the pool to the majority of guys going off in the afternoon. If we really like someone they're going off in the afternoon, we can go after them, but we like the guys going off in the AM. So our best value options could be a Nick Taylor. I've loved playing Nick Taylor in round one. I mean, he's an obvious round one play. He's gaining 1.5 strokes in round one, nothing more than 0.1 in the other rounds. Literally a round one play. So he'll be a round one play for sure when it comes to our first round leader market. He's usually well up there in that situation. We got the round one leader. Let's take a look here for Nick Taylor. And you can get the 90-41. If you shop around, maybe there's 100 out there. But I love the 94, so we're in at that number. Nick Taylor, 8:06 tee time. I'm cool with that. Very solid tee time. Off we go. Kaden Nakajima. He's going to be likely in the same range as Nick Taylor, right? 105-1. Love that. We just saw him have a really good Scottish Open. Yeah. Missed the cut at the Open, missed the cut at the 3M, but hell, he showed up at the Scottish, and he shows up in round one, and he also has easy scoring conditions that he plays well in. He's also got some really good model ranking at 19th overall. We've got some good form, I believe, over the last couple months here. In the last 2 months, he's got that Scottish Open, top 3, top 5, whatever. And his best round of the 4 splits is a Thursday. Not by much, but it's still the best round. He's gaining over a stroke or gaining a stroke on the field. So 105 for Kaden Nakajima, a first round leader. We'll probably be doing all of that stuff with a top 5, or if it's a big number, like we had Francesco Molinari at the Open, top 10 at like 15-1. And that came in pretty clutch because it helped us get home in some capacity with all those dead heats. We also had the top 5 that had the same group of guys cash the top 5, also cash top 10s, and all of those bets got dead heated. The top 5 went through the top 10. It was just a total cluster. If Frankie had one more birdie for us in round one, we would have had a really good top 5 payout there, because I think that was like a 30-1 top 5 on Francesco Molinari. So Keita Nakajima will be a first-round leader bet for us at 105-1. What I try to do is get as many guys in, almost 10 first-round leaders in this 100 to whatever range. You get those top 5s, you get those top 10s in there. If you have just one of them come home with a top 5, then you basically halved your losses. If 2 of them come home with a top 5, then you're making profit. And you got 10 guys out there. One of them wins, and the other guy top 5s, then we like starting to stack, some serious units. Ben Coles in round 1 makes way too much sense. I think that's definitely how we're going to get exposure to Benjamin Coles, not Ben Silverman. 84-1, love that number. So he's an afternoon guy. Again, I'm not going to be scared off that much. We have already got 2 AM options. Mac Masner coming in at $7,300. I love him in round 1 as well. He can't seem to get it home when it matters, so we'll bet 0.1 unit on him there to win 8. He also gets a PMT time. I'm cool with that. Matt Kuchar. You never know what the Cooch Daddy gets up to. He's going to be pretty affordable in the outright. 200-1 in the first round leader market. Love that. You never know what Matt Kuchar gets up to. The model loves Matt Kuchar this week. The putter. It's all in the putter right now. So Kuchar, get him going. Is he a bent? He's a bent guy, right? I've got way too many tools, freaking things open, yeah. Okay. Putting. Matt Kuchar. Where does he show up here? Here he is here. Matt McCarty, Matt Kuchar. Solid. Ideally, you want Kuchar on Poa, but he gains half a stroke on bent. Don't get Kuchar. He's pretty neutral on Bermuda. So, does his good work on the Bermuda bent? There we go. Why am I trying to recap what I just spoke to about 5 seconds ago? There we go. Matt Kuchar puts well on bent grass greens as well. 200-1. Let's go. That's a situation when you get a number like that, then we can lean into that little ladder action where you, instead of putting 0.1 unit on the outright or the first round leader and 0.1 unit on the top 5, you can do a 0.3 unit investment on a long shot like this, where it's the exact same kind of situation as Francesco Molinari. You can go top 5, top 10, and top 20. First round leader, top 5, and top 10 for first round leaders over there for Cooch Dog. I mean, look how far he is down this board here. But, you don't get the ties paid in full, but again, you're getting that top 10 extra unit, 0.1 unit on there to get a 14-1 return. So if he just top 10s, you're gaining 1.2 units on the Matt Kuchar bet, and we've got 1.8 units out on all the other first round leader markets. So we're netting negative 0.6. So we're losing a little bit. But so long as just one guy comes home in the placements and it's not a dead heat chop to the death, then, we're doing okay. So Matt Kuchar, 200-1. Let's go. Then we're going to go Andrew Putnam. Obviously, round 1 is his go-to-go. He's a short hitter, can make the putts. He gets a 7:55 tee time. Andy putts. Not bots. We got putts. Putnam. 165-1. I mean, you see what you know what I'm talking about, yeah. So you find the best value first round leader guys, and off we go. If the first round leader market is so volatile, having a volume based approach has been working out quite nicely for me. Just having 1 unit at 0.1 unit increments of investment gets our 10 guys out there. Off we go. Matt McCarty is probably my first hesitant click. Doesn't check any boxes. He's been playing quite poorly lately. Not necessarily popping like super hard in the first round leader market anyway, but it does seem like there is a bit of reprieve for him in that department. We'll see. Also, this Matt Kuchar, I guess we're just going to roll with it. Maybe good things come from that 0.3 unit investment. Eric Cole, we've seen him just have... In fact, look at this. This is insane. Okay. No, I want to go to my page, type in Eric Cole. Because this is what Eric Cole has been up to the last little while. Where are you, Eric? The one latest. Where is this? Where is this? Nope, it's not showing up any... All right. I don't know. All right, I thought I had it right away for us here, but Eric Cole's like last little bit of golf has been really poor, but he's also had some really good performances during that stretch as well. Where the hell... I'm going to find it. We're going to find this Eric Cole thing because he did it at the Open again. Where are we? By the way, I got shouted out on the PGA Tour radio for this email I sent them. This was the bus drive to West Iowa, which is called Onawa. We're going to get there shortly, but where's Eric Cole? Yeah, we go. Eric Cole. Why did my search not pull this up? This is Eric Cole's last couple rounds of golf since the RBC Canadian. 64, 76, 63, 73, 76, 63, 79, 76, 64. Most of these happen in the same tournament, at least two of them. They usually happen within rounds of each other. So like Eric Cole, low round in either round 1 or round 2 is like, it's almost a lock. This guy's just rattling them off. So Eric Cole, I mean, this round 2 has been bounce back city for him the last couple weeks, apparently, of the last 12 months. But he's someone I'm in the mood for over there. Are we getting way too cute with Matt McCarty and just leaving him alone? Or are we getting, we're just getting off of him there? It seems like... What is Matt McCarty's number? 110-1. It must be part of the process. We'd never forgive ourselves if we just brushed over him. And then Russell Henley shows up, but we're not going to probably get a solid number on Henley. He's probably going to be, what, 30-1? 50-1 for Russell Henley, first round leader. He's averaging 2 strokes per round in first round, and that is the best of the bunch. Russell Henley and Ben Griffin. Ben Griffin is 48-1. So, I mean, what have we done here so far in the value side of things? We may not get our 10 guys. We may actually just land up going... What is this? These are our first 8. Okay. Henley and Wyndham Clark. I mean, we have to get Wyndham Clark in here as well. At 35-1. Okay. I'm not gonna fret over this stuff too much. Let's we've got our core cheap guys that can like make or break us. There's a good chance I'd just go with Russell Henley and Wyndham Clark as well. But then that's like 1.5 units that we got invested out there if we want to have a decent return on these two guys. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I will post my card on Twitter at the Model Maniac, but these are our original guys for first round leader. Nick Taylor, Keita Nakajima, Ben Coles, Mac Masner, Matt Kuchar, Andrew Putnam, Matt McCarty, Eric Cole. Those will all be first round showdown. Perfect options, if you ask me. So give me these guys. Let's rock and roll. I'm going to do 12 more minutes of DK chat. And we're going to go from there. And then we're going to do some RAGBRAI recap. Just some stories I want to share with you guys as we go through the map. Kiefer top 20. Unfortunately, Johnny Kiefer is not grading out like the best for me. He does check 3 boxes amidst his peers of just yellows and oranges and reds. You know, it's an obvious outlier. Him and Marco Penge, yeah, they're the last couple guys to check 3 boxes. So don't hate Johnny Kiefer. Top 20, inside the top 20, 32% of the time. Why am I so tired? It's like in the middle of the afternoon. All right, so what I really like about Johnny Kiefer is how good he is in easy scoring conditions. If the conditions get anything remotely close to like medium to hell, that general area of his game is not necessarily the greatest. he thrives in Corn Ferry Tour conditions. This was the Corn Ferry Tour Player of the Year. Didn't he graduate number 1? So where you just go, pound out the drivers out there, pound out the distance, top 10, top 20 in distance. It's going to be a good off the tier. Just needs to find the chipping and putting, but he has been playing slightly better the last little while. I'm lying. Scottish Open, he finished 3rd. Wow. You see, if I don't have, he's ranked 40th in the model, and he's not giving us solid returns long term for the placements, then I'm not going to necessarily go to him in that situation. I almost need my guy to be top 20 if I'm going to be betting him top 20 in the model. He needs to be top 20 bet, like this is what's what, me with the Jake Knapp hairstyle or Jake Knapp's with Jake Knapp's hairstyle? Rosé. Anyway, so I don't mind Johnny Kiefer, but 7% ownership, you know what I'm saying? That's going to be quite fun. Aldrich Potgieter with 9% ownership. That may be a leave alone situation. I don't know, or just match the field at 10%, but yikes. Okay. Fire off any DFS Q&As that you may have. We are rocking and rolling. Eric Cole, 6% ownership. It's looking like I'm going to love him. I think that's a very fair situation for me to get some extra exposure. I love Wyndham Clark, number 1 in the model, all of that stuff. If we just go by DK pricing, it makes things look a little easier. So I'm leaning into Cameron Young the most. I'm going to leave Chris Goddard and Xander alone for the most part. And then play Siwoo Kim and Jackson Koiven as the next 2 guys underneath them quite a lot more. Siwoo Kim 2nd in the model, Jackson Koiven 7th in the model, coming off the win. Wyndham Clark underneath them. That's number 1 in the model. So, Wyndham Clark could land up being somebody that I just almost lust. I don't think I'll get more than 50% on him, but definitely up in that love range then, probably 1/3 of my lineups, if not more. So how can you be sad about the wig when I've got the bicycle helmet on you? This thing, you are lucky you're listening. In like 20 years' time, you're going to smell what I smell like through the audio podcast. It's going to be, and this helmet stinks. It's had some sweat in it. So if you think Eric Cole wins this week, I think so too. I would love for that to happen. 80-1. Let's go. So Wyndham Clark, going to be our guy down here that we like a lot as well. Xander is he's just not priced fairly in any market, given what his upside is over and over and over. Would I be shocked if he wins a tournament? No. Will I be shocked if he doesn't top 10? No, because he's just not doing it. Like Xander Schauffele's top 10 rate is only like 1 in every 3 starts. It's basically one in every 2 starts he's finishing top 20, and we're getting Xander Schauffele for a top 20. You're going to be looking at minus 125. And all of those top elite, shout out Xander Schauffele. We bet him top 20 in all 4 majors plus 700. That came through. Burp, burp, burp. Let's go. That was a big time deal situation for us there. So Xander, we're going to leave alone. Going to have him in like 1 lineup of however many I make this week. I think I'm going to do like 20 again and go from there. Wyndham and Russell going to be in a lot of my lineups as always. Top 5 in the model for Russell as well. $9,200, 12%. Look at this. He's the lowest owned option in. The next lowest owned option is Harris English at 6%. Why does Russell Henley perpetually get undervalued? This makes me want to go like, I may type in pink here, to give you a clue of like how close to lust I'm getting, because Russell Henley at this kind of ownership is what dreams are made of, man. He's just perpetually inside the top 20 and has still got a pretty good win rate. He's still got a good top 5 rate. All of that stuff is going to be good for old Russell Henley there. Patrick Cantley is like the unofficial statfish of the week for us. But the official statfish of the week, I saw somebody asking about, here we go. Mark Ewanishon was saying Thorbjornsen placements feel fun this week. Michael Thorbjornsen is going to be the like legit official statfish of the week, because we are seeing a guy that's $8,200 in the model. He's like 35th for me in overall ranking. It's the first name that's outside the top 30, and then you get Michael Brennan, who's 63rd, Marco Penge, Davis Thompson. So he begins the initial avalanche of outside the top 30 ranked options at $8,200. Everybody else I have ranked top 23 ahead of him. So quite a big gap there. And we're going to have 13% ownership on him. We got a 4th place here last year. Yes. You know what's also really interesting? And people have spoken about this. Should we go and... I don't think you can even do it anymore on the tour website, because you can find the par 5 scoring averages. Michael Thorbjornsen should be pretty up here. I'm lying to you. He's 115th in the field in par 5 scoring, so that's not going to bring it home. And then what you typically want to do is go find par 4 scoring. That's like the longer holes, but I don't think they give us that option anymore to find it. So what I wanted to try and get at with that whole like random mumble jumble over there is we've gone from having one of these and 17 and I think 7 or 17 and 6 used to be par 5. Oh, 17 and 7. I just changed this to 0.4 over par scoring averages because they were 0.5 under par scoring averages as par 5s. So they are now just very difficult par 5s. Very difficult par 4s. And I think typically Michael Thorbjornsen thrives on the par 5s. When he's played well, he dominates the par 5s. There's only 2 of them now. It changes your whole mindset. When there's 4 par 5s, I'm horrible at par 5 scoring for some weird reason. I don't know what my deal is. I just don't get... I make bogeys on par 5s. I'm like Cameron Young when it comes to that department. So with the lack of par 5s, I think Thor is causing concern for me. He's going to be quite owned, and it's based off of one finish here last year where he finished 4th. Everything prior to that was a miscut. Played well at the Scottish, missed the cut at the John Deere, top 40 at the Open. So he's starting to trend. But again, when it comes to easy scoring conditions, he's been quite poor in that department. He's actually got better, when these conditions get a little mediocre range there. Been struggling with the putter, leaning heavily on around the green play. There's just not a lot of overwhelmingly positive things for me to say about Michael Thorbjornsen. There's a lot of negatives as well. And as a result, he'll be the mini statfish of the week this week outside of Patrick Cantley, who I basically have plugged in there basically every week. He is a statfish of the week kind of thing. So yes, there we have that. Moving along. Okay. Ryan Gerard, 16% owned, is hefty. Harris English, 6% owned, is also very interesting. Given he just doesn't, when your top 5 rate is less than your ownership rate, it's fair, right? Whereas maybe that's a good way to kind of establish if ownership is worth it. Do you have what ownership versus your top 5 rate? So Cameron Young, 25% owned, 38% top 5 rate. Xander Schauffele, 16% owned, 16% top 5 rate. Chris Gotterup, 20% owned, 12% top 5 rate. Siwoo Kim, 14% owned, 28% top 5 rate. Seems like a fair, that's kind of maybe the way to potentially, I may just do ownership minus top 5 rate. And let's see, how you can find some value maybe this week in this situation. So we got ownership minus top 5 rate. Let's do it the other way around. Top 5 rate minus ownership. We want positive to be good. Give you a little back tester of what the show gives you over here. Drag this all the way down to the bottom. There's a lot of guys in this field. There we go. Okay, so we get this out of there. We get this out of there. And here we have it. And we're going to do this. Conditional formatting. I'm going to just make this pretty for us. And then we're going to see some ownership, fun, and games. Color scale, we want positive to be green. So we want big to be green. There we have it. Get this to the top there so that overrides that. Get this over here. Boom, boom, boom. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. And There we have it. Now we're looking pretty. Now we're making sense of ownership minus top 5 rate. Fun stuff. Let's see who's got the best top 5 rate versus ownership. Trace Crow. Jeffrey Kang. Amidst Siwoo Kim and Cameron Young. So Cameron Young, Siwoo Kim doing good work. Garrick Higo showing up here. Don't hate that. As a $6,500 one percenter. Keita Nakajima. Love Keita Nakajima this week. So, in fact, I may have to make sure that I love him. Can't just say I love Keita Nakajima and not play him. I think we're going to have to love him at $7,000. That love will be 25% of my lineups, not closer to 50 at all. I like him in 1/4 of my lineups at $7,000, 2% owned. Let's go. We just had a really good finish at the 3M for him. Finished inside the top 5. Chandler Blanchet. Ricky Castillo, Jackson Quaven, Matt Wallace, Nikolai Højgaard, Rasmus Højgaard, Christopher Ventura, Adrian Sadia, Kensei Arata. No one's really popping my bubbles here for me. Lee Hodges, check some boxes there. Stephen Fisk, shout out winner of the what? The ISCO, the fiscal policy coming through. So some names over there, Johnny Kiefer, Lucas Glover with the Spikegate, Marco Penge. And, yeah. So, that's going to be there. Loving Chandler Phillips, you say. Down low for DFS. I worry the course is too big for him, but history is okay. What do you think if he just makes the cut? We are Gucci, Neil Stigerman. Where is Chanman? Fantastic. I mean, is the course too big for him? I don't think so. He just top 5'd at the 3M, didn't he? 13th here last year. $68, 6,800s of them. 3rd, 15th, 15th. ISCO John Deere 3M. I mean, that is some fantastic form. The price tag's fair. The ownership is not exorbitant at 6%. It's not ideal, but it's not exorbitant. 54th in the model. $6,800. He's your last click, your second last click in a lineup who's just rattled off 3 top 15s in very similar events when it comes to the status. You know, not a lot of big names this week, some good names early on, but then it's still a non-signature event. And he's playing some good golf. 3M Open, fantastic performance there with the 3rd place. Absolutely love Chandler Phillips. Not going to say love him, I like him a lot. Could be doing a like situation here in the 15 to 25% range at $6,800. Love that. Like that a lot. Let's get our wording correct here. For old Neil Stegman. Thank you for that question, Neil. All right. Love the Chan Man this week as well. There. Michael Kim is a showdown beast. Anytime Michael Kim is out of contention, he's always going to have the chance to shoot a 59, just like he did at the 3M. Insane that he was over par the next day, because he was in contention to some capacity. So that's the thing with Michael Kim is I don't think he's a competitor right now. I know this is the Mayo Media Network where he'll be chatting to Pat soon. But if I did have a question for Michael Kim, I'd wonder how he handles nerves, how he goes about prepping or feeling the nerves of contention, because he's obviously talented enough to shoot 59s, to go banana land. We've played him in showdown often, rounds 2, round 3, when he's not in the mix, even round 4. The moment you get Michael Kim outside of contention, you go to him. So that's what's cooking over there. I will have pretty much everything that you would wish for from a DFS perspective in the Discord later this evening, later tomorrow. We're going to be filling up this column here with some notes and stuff. I'll get all the colors in here, but so far, these are my colors that I'm looking at for everybody so far. We'll go there. Now let's get to some RAGBRAI. This is the part of the show that, feel free to log off, whatever. I'm going to just kind of pull this up, share my week with you guys. When I was on Fantasy Golf Degenerates, I didn't quite get the chance to really share all of this stuff with you guys. I'm going to just walk you through the experience. So there's water towers. You can see the water towers on a bicycle. We can see all of the stuff, and you can visualize how far the next town is. So water towers are a big deal on RAGBRAI. RAGBRAI is basically Whoopsie. Here's the map of Iowa. We went all the way from Ottawa, which is in West Iowa, down through Harlan, Guthrie Center, Boone, Marshalltown, Independence, Dyersville, where the Field of Dreams was, to Dubuque. So we pedaled our way across Iowa like this on our bicycles, 391 miles, 16,000 feet of climbing. I did an extra couple miles to get a 100-mile day on day 5 from Marshalltown to Independence, which was a fun day. But as you can see, the first 2 days, this is gradient. Look at what we had to deal with early on. Like we started off in Ottawa at like 1.5K feet above sea level. And within a couple miles, 30 miles into the day, we are sitting like 300 feet above sea level multiple times. 300 further feet above sea level. You go down these massive freaking hills, which are so steep, and you don't really get a chance to even like really recuperate. And then you got to go back up all of this stuff again. And at 250 pounds, I got absolutely demolished on these hills. As you can tell, the next couple days over here was when I was in my element. Some fun hills. When you get hills like this, you can land up doing like 40 miles an hour down into these like towns where you are just rocking and rolling. So spent a couple days on the bicycle here. So Ottawa to the first day. Let me see what else is like. So yeah, we get like all of these different concerts going on. It was a blast in Ottawa. Where's the map for day 1? So anyway, I'll chat about what actually happened in Ottawa the first night. We go and we hit the concert. We come back from the concert 11 o'clock, and there's some guy sitting on a chair that we think is like all fucked up. He's like slurring his words. He's like speaking really slowly. You know, me being an empath, I ask him like, hey, are you okay, man? Like, you don't look great, whether you're drunk or... It was also so hot that there was heat stroke, definitely, that could have been a thing, and it was. So I asked him if he's okay, and like he just like kept staring, and then like 20 seconds later, he's like, I think I am. And then I was like, are you sure? And then like 15 seconds later, he's like, I don't think I am. And he's like speaking so slowly, and he was so heat stricken. So we get like some Powerades out of the coolers, and we get him on the neck, rock and roll. We get Chaz all fixed up. Next day, hear the stories about Chaz. He was racing over the hills, ready to rock and roll. Out of his tent at 5 o'clock in the morning, off he went. I should start a biking team because that man was down and out. He saw me the next day at Harlan, came up to me, he said, Byron. I was like, yes. He's like, I'm Chaz. I'm like, Chaz from last night? He's like, yeah. And he was speaking faster than I am. He's like a really energetic guy. Man was man down. So the beautiful thing of RAGBRAI is you have this camaraderie that kind of just each day you meet new people that you warrior through the day with, you warrior through the night with, like there are people that come into town at freaking 10 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night, and then they leave the next day whenever. But we were on the charter. We had to have our bags in the buses by 7:30. I wake up at 6:45, 6:30 off to the Kaiba with my dude wipes, and no tents. Everybody's packed up. They've moved out already. I've got like 45 minutes until deadline, but everyone's decided, no, we need to get the hell out of here. So it was very, very incredible to see how people just refused to get off to a late start. Now, for me, that's not that big of a deal. We typically, the left side of my neck is actually pretty stiff because on RAGBRAI, you have basically two single lane roads. You got the rumbles in the middle sometimes, which those can be fun if you have to go over them, and certain ones have been cut fresh. They will just destroy your nuts if you're not paying attention. And you have a wide range. So you can have about 6 bicycles across a road at any given point in time with a lot of space to be had. 3 bicycles per lane is plenty of space. But usually sometimes on some days, when it gets flat like this, you get these trains that just take up 2 lanes in the entire lane. 2 rows of bicycles doing insane speeds because of the drafting. The 2 guys in the front are hammering it out, and you sit back there and you just enjoy the free miles. But I wasn't into too many of those because it got a little busy at times. So me and Darren, my buddy, 150 pounds lighter than me, we were cruising through. He loved the first 2 days. And then, obviously he has to get behind me on these ones, and I create like a massive wind barrier for him. But always when I go to pass people, I'm always looking to my left-hand side, and you yell on your left, if you think that the person's not paying attention. And turns out I've got a very stiff neck now because I probably looked over my left-hand side probably over 100 times per ride. I take safety on a bicycle ultra seriously, and I never bike at nighttime. I never, change lane or anything without paying attention to what's behind me. And I'm in decent biking shape, so I'm typically going faster than everyone around me, so I can see most of my hazards are ahead of me. So pounded through all of that. It was a blast. Get to Harlan, pretty chilled night. Had our showers there for the first night. They have portable shower trucks that they pull up to your tent every night. You get into like a trailer, like a massive semi-trailer that have showers in them, hot water, all part of the whole deal. We paid $600 to have this charter drop us off from Ankeny, Iowa, which is like somewhere over here, drive us all the way to Ottawa. Then they pick up your stuff and drop it off at Harlan, drop it off at Guthrie Center, Boone, and they took us along the route with all our bags and stuff, and boom chakalaka, you get there and your bags are ready to rock and roll. So after the Harlan stop, I get my bags and I get my soap out of the bag and I put it on the shower stand, and it starts like spinning because the bottom had warped out because it still had the seal on top. So I take the seal off and I pour the soap into my hand, and it starts burning my hand. It was curdling in there. It was so fucking hot that my 3-in-1 soap, shampoo, conditioner, whatever, was curdling, and it created so much combustion inside of the container that the bottom of it is like popped out. And it's a good container. It's not like a piece of shit container. It was like a brand new soap container. So hot that it was just sitting out in the sun for a couple hours in my bag and just absorbing so much heat. And every time I used the soap for the first couple days, it would burn my hand because it was so hot in the bag. So that's what we had to deal with weather-wise. We've got a nice little tan going on. I don't know if you can see here. It's kind of got like a bit better. So we're getting it along there, getting a bit of peeling over here where I haven't had a lot of sun historically. This is what I call the keyboard zone. That's where the sleeves are. You got to get on the bike and you rock the whatchamacallit. So we get through Harlan. That was the first thing we learned, is like, holy shit, everything is cooking. Somehow deodorant still stayed sharp. Like, what is deodorant made of that it didn't melt just into a puddle? It contained its shape. It was a bit gooey, but if you don't use it when it's that hot, it maintains its shape in like 100, what must have been like 110, 120 degrees, like inside the bag. So it was really, really crazy names, really, really crazy stuff there. Then we got to Guthrie Center after Harlan, another hectic day. This was Monday. It was super hot, 98 degrees. By the way, on Sunday, I was busy sweating the Open Championship. Listening to the Open radio on the roads of the hills was awesome. It was one of the better days I had as well. Open, do not encourage you to use 2 headphones. Even one was a bit problematic, but I was desperate to hear some golf, so we did listen. Then, as you can see here, the next day was a 68-mile day, and we had like a 23-mile first stint from the Harlantown to Elkhorn. Like a lot of hills involved there, and you only had 3 towns because that county area here in this part of West Iowa didn't want any vendors. So only specific towns were allowed. And you need water. You need replacements. I drank 4 to 5 to 6 gallons of water easily every day that it was like a hot one. So it was really something that you have to pay attention to. Stay hydrated non-stop. I've got like a liter water bottle that I have 2 of. And at each stop, I'm just drinking 2 liters of water. Boom, boom, boom. With this one, we had to find some farm people on the side of the highways, kids setting up lemonade stands, all of that stuff. It's awesome. You can just buy water bottles for $1, $2. You can buy, watermelons, whatever from these people just on the side of the road. It was so much fun. Kind of doing all of that and seeing all the kids because I miss my little girl, and you see all the little girls on the side. It was such a fun time. So big first 2 days, lots of climbing, 7,000 feet of climbing. We only did 16,000 feet of climbing the whole week. So we only had 9,000 feet more climbing the last 5 days. So that was a lot easier on your boy. And we went from Guthrie Center to Ogden. And, you think, okay, cool, look at this profile. We are good to go. We are rocking and rolling from Guthrie Center to Boone. And this is, Perry is 24 miles from my, maybe I can, here we go. Perry is 24 miles from where I live. I live like right over here. So we went on Panora, Yale, Perry is all part of the bike trail that I have here in Iowa. And it was a really fun day because all of our friends we weren't doing the whole week of RAGBRAI showed up, and we partied with them and had a good time. And then we like cruising this way a little bit, and then the next thing, as lunchtime shows up, we're all stuck in Perry, and we've still got another like 30 miles to go. We thought we were going to have just a chilled 61-mile day. No. We have to go straight north for the majority of the route into like a 25-mile-per-hour headwind in like 95-degree heat. It was death. It was absolute death. But again, 250 pounds into a headwind is way more enjoyable for me than 250 pounds up a hill. It was pretty flat. I did want to pull up. I went and found a friend of ours' dad who lives right outside of Boone. And he probably, if I'm being completely honest with you, lives like here. And I had a 12% wine beer with him that he opened the wax with. I'd already had multiple beers that day because we weren't doing that much biking. We were partying with all of our friends, met up with my father-in-law in Perry. Get there, he cracks open a 12% wine beer that he's been waiting for me to get there to share with him because we spoke about this a year ago. And smash that, I walk out of his house and we got to go down this hill. All the way down this hill, and then you got to go back up the hill. What is this? Like almost 250 feet of climbing. And I've just consumed like a thick porter, and I'm feeling fantastic. But off we go. I made it to the top of the hill. We got to Boone. We set up our camp. Off we go. Have another fantastic night of partying in the Boone area. And the concerts were fantastic. Who was the concert that week? I can't remember who it was. But anyway, so Boone was fun. Then we went the next day. We went from Boone to Marshalltown. And my best friend lives pretty close to Marshalltown. He was my college roommate. He came down. We partied that night in Marshalltown, watched Pork Tornadoes. We did a 67-mile day, pretty simple day. It's always nice when like the final bit of your ride is downhill. The final 20 miles of the ride from Boone to Marshalltown was like relatively downhill, which is awesome, fun. Easterly wind. Easterly route, the wind was out of the east. Pretty much any time we went a different direction, the wind would switch from out of that direction. Small breezy situation, but it was still out of the east. Anytime you kind of go south or north, you had a side wind and you just see your speed just increase incredibly. So nothing too exciting. My buddy Austin showed up. We had a great time. Ate a lot of good food this time around. Instead of eating like burritos and burgers and fried food and shit, I just got bowls from like a Euro place that was called the Euro Spot, but the way they took their photos and their font, the G for the Euro, then the small for Euro, Y-R-O, and then Spot was in big, so it was called the G Spot. And I found that truck, and it was delightful. I had like multiple meals from them. Just get a big bowl of rice and lettuce and tomatoes, cucumber, tzatziki, and meat. Trying to keep your system fresh, and not like digesting too much stuff, because you can tell like your energy levels get low if you have like a massive meal, because you're stopping. We wake up at 7 o'clock and you get to camp after doing 67 miles at like 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock, you're out and about for like 11 hours. So you're spending a lot of money. You're also, spending a lot of energy as well. So you have to keep yourself loaded with cash, and you have to keep yourself loaded with nutrients and water. And then, once you get to Colo, then you can start hammering the beers. So that was a fun day. Then we went from Marshalltown to Independence, and this was the 100-mile day, day 5. So kind of cruised into a headwind the whole day again. It was all like out of the east. This first stretch from Marshalltown to Grundy Center was delightful. We were just cruising, most of it though uphill, unfortunately. So not necessarily cruising as fast as you want. Then you take a turn right into a headwind, and we made it through all the way. And then this was the day I did the 100-mile loop. So instead of doing an 86-mile day, right over here by Jessup, when you can basically see Independence's freaking water tower, they give you a little loopy-doopy that comes this way up here and then kind of goes back down all the way to Jessup again. So you can basically see the end in sight, and they make you go do your extra 15, 16 miles to get your 102 miles for the day. Minimal climbing that day as well, but it was a long day, so still got 2,500 feet of climbing. But this little route right here, it was the roads cleared up significantly because not everyone does the 100 miles. And they also did a 250-kilometer day that day. I think they said 20,000 people signed up, which makes it roughly 40,000 people on the route, pretty much any given day on average. So there's thousands and hundreds of people around you nonstop, and then thousands of people on the road. Once you get onto that loop, it's split out quite nicely, and then 800 people try to do 250 kilometers in a single day. It's like 140 miles, 150 miles, 1.6 kilometers to a mile. 700 of those people did it. It was insane. At the concert that night, they told us all about the stats of who all did their stuff. And it's special out there. It was super quiet, and I was just ripping 20 miles an hour, down this little Jessup area on the flats, in my element, constantly passing people and just feeling like a goddamn god on my bicycle, until I looked at myself in the photos after the week and saw I had my things zipped down and my tit was hanging out, and I'm just like out of shape. But when you're on the bicycle in the heat, ripping 20 miles an hour after 90 miles of biking, you feel sexy, and it was a good time. So that was day 5 from Marshalltown to Independence after a nice night with my friend. Got up nice and early and we got it out of there. And then we stayed over in Dyersville the next day. It was a pretty chill day. Drank 1 million beers this day because this was the last day of thing, and we had 42 miles to go. So we got stuck in Manchester, and I finished a full 12-pack of beers in Manchester somehow, which was awesome. And I had been drinking so much water that I was still pretty fine, pretty saucy, but had a blast, got into Dyersville, and we watched Not Quite Brothers in Dyersville. No, I lied to you. This was Spasmatics. Day 5 was Not Quite Brothers, who were my favorite band of the bunch. Not Quite Brothers, if they're ever singing around you guys, go check them out. I don't know if they're a Midwest band or what, but highly entertaining. The lead singer is incredible. There's just 3 guitarists and a drummer with the lead singer, and the variety of songs, it's mostly like rock. He also did like some Britney Spears, that kind of stuff. So he has that range, and it was such an awesome time. So had a good day, 42-mile day there, and drank copious amounts of beer before we went on to the Field of Dreams. Let me see if I can pull up the Field of Dreams pictures. We had some fun. Here's me and my father-in-law and Darren at the Field of Dreams. This is the actual stadium that they will be playing the MLB game at. If you go over here, you can see the house. It's actually where the actual field is. Then you can go. There's my dad. If you want to see what I look like in 30 years' time, that's my dad. Me and Darren did it all together. He has my father-in-law, and my lips were just absolutely demolished. So let me see if I can find the actual, there's my lippies. He has the actual photo of the house and the barn, and he has the bench and the field. Look at all these bicycles just around Dyersville. It was just super, super sick at the Field of Dreams. And you could kind of feel there was like an atmosphere there. You know, it was kind of commercialized and things like that, but pretty cool stuff just seeing all of the stuff over there. And then we came into the Buke. And this, you don't realize, at this point in time, I'm on the phone with my dad. I went up a hill into Dubuque that was so damn hilly. I didn't even realize I was going up a hill while I'm trying to get my dad to send me correct directions to where he's at so we can go to the bicycle, the truck where all the bicycles get loaded up. I'm on the phone going up a hill. Then I get the directions. I'm holding the phone in my right hand and hitting the brakes with my left hand going down this hill. And you go down this thing. If I just let go of my brakes, we're doing like 50 miles an hour down this thing. It is steep, and all of these black... You don't realize when you drive in a car, these black cracks are death to bicycles. Like, the constant hitting of these little things, and I'm like cranking the brakes, holding myself at a certain speed so I'm not flying down the hill, trying not to miss a turn, because you've just done like 40 miles and you're trying to just get the hell home. And taking a wrong turn when you're super close home is like one of the worst things in the world. We went down this freaking hill. And then there we are on the way home. So I had a blast. That's my little RAGBRAI experience for you guys. I figured I'd just share it on my show because, you know, such is life. And I feel less pressure to like speed through it and kind of share everything with you guys. And if... Also the main reason I wanted to do this was I want to start getting to the point of the show where Joe Idoni used to do this, and it inspired me to do it at the end of my shows. And just once we're done with the golf shit, let's check in on each other, because RAGBRAI was just such a... It's so... I'm not like a super religious person, but I do believe in like spirituality and the vibes and people and you know, making yourself surround yourself with good things can just make you feel better. And the whole spirit of the RAGBRAI route was sensational, and people helping each other out, complete strangers helping each other out when you fall, helping each other out with food, with water, with whatever you need. The volunteers at every single town were always smiling and happy, and anywhere you look there were people smiling and having fun, and just experiencing that and knowing that there are good people out there just like refuels your soul so hard. Like I'm overflowing with happiness and positivity, and mentally, physically, emotionally, I'm like recharged as balls. I feel fantastic after a long week. I am wearing Mrs. Maniac's nipple butter from breastfeeding for my lips. Fantastic product. My lips would be in way worse shape than they are now from sunburn and the wind. Because you put all the sunscreen on your lips and you like lick it off. You know, like there it goes. Couple minutes into the day and off your sunscreen goes. So it's a lot of fun. So I just wanted to share this with you guys. You know, exercising is something that keeps my mind healthy. It's something that keeps my mind going. It keeps my body. I'm a fat boy, but I'm a fit boy, and I pride myself on that still. So I'll be doing some dieting here soon, trying to get in shape before the second baby shows up here in September, and just trying to provide you guys with some good vibes. If you're looking to kind of get your stuff going and, you know, need some motivation, hopefully this gave you some excitement to go out and get a bicycle or go do a sport that you really enjoy, that gets your heart going. And you know, being an exercising person is one of the best things you can do for yourself. So I figured I'd let you guys know, and hopefully that kind of spills over into just one of your lives. You never freaking know what that does, and maybe you paid for it, and the world just becomes a better place because of RAGBRAI. So namaste, my friends. I really appreciate you guys. All epic week, Jimbo. Let's get it. I'll be checking out all of your Twitter to make sure I'm following a couple of your first rounders, or if we have any overlaps. I'll be curious to see you there. Rose saying I am a spiritual person. I really am. So we are all love, 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 care is a love, happiness situation. Let's go, baby. Appreciate you all. Really do. I really, really do. It's the Rocket. we've got our bets, we've got our DFS picks, we've got the RAGBRAI recap. Long show, 2 hours. I want to get it out of here under 2, so I appreciate every single one of you. Code FGD for first-time DraftKings depositors. Check out the Model Maniac Patreon for all the stuff I showed you on the screen. Bets 26, 50% off. Dog Dominator, part of the annual package, which you can get 50% off the annual package, which includes the Dog Dominator. So, you know, if you got $175, that's all it's going to cost you. So the Dog Dominator is a $50 product, you know, which we use, which I will be upgrading. Justin and Pat have me. I'm going to provide a Dog Dominator version that you guys have never seen before for this baseball season. So it's going to be amazing. I love you all. Let's have a great Rocket Classic. Spread some love, smile, you know, give a granny a wink if you need to. We'll catch you guys next week. Peace.